Okay, so we're live. I want to do a quick intro to myself, and then everybody else will have a go, and then we'll start off the topic of Satanism. Has it got anything good about it? So first of all, my name's Khalid Safir, as you can see below me. I'm a Muslim. I do happiness classes for non-Muslims based on Islamic ideas. All of the live streams I do is about not being academic or trying to be right, but trying to make the world a better place with better ideas. Everything starts with ideas. That's my little intro. If you're wondering why I'm looking like this, because I moved to Jordan, a hot country, and this is what I like to wear, and we're very nature orientated, so that's why you see the greenery and food drying over here and stuff like that. So that's me. Who would like to go next to do a quick intro about themselves?
Well, my name is Mr. Dust, and I come with a 2-year guarantee not to rust. And that's only European-wide. Of course, internationally, that is a bit more questionable. But why am I here? That is primarily my thinking of reality, and the source of my responses to the world is based and framed around human rights law, constitutional understanding, and the need for democracy to be the very bedrock of interaction between different communities. So that's Dust.
Martin.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm Martin. I'm coming from an atheist perspective, without any God or deities or any of those things involved. I'm also I'm all for human rights, equal opportunity, that every person gets the best chance to be the best they can be, to benefit society and everyone. It just seems to make sense. That's kind of where I'm coming from, I guess.
Cool. Great. And so the question we're going to deal with is, does Satanism have a positive message? I wrote massage. Never mind. But just
there's a Freudian slip for you.
Yes, it means something deep. Massage. It massages me somehow. Anyway, Martin, beside being an atheist, you're also a Satanist. So this is something I think you should lead with. Go for it.
So your question, does Satanism have a positive message? It depends. If you agree, if you agree with the idea of compassion and empathy, if you want to see the struggle for justice being a noble virtue, which I'm sure we all would wish to see, if you want to fight for a system that defends a person's right to have control over their own body, their own rights over their own body and reproductive system, things like that.
So forth, yeah.
If you have respect for other people's freedoms and you want to see your own freedom protected and the right for other people to have their freedom, if you believe that scientific understanding of the world is a good thing, our guide to go by, rather than just believe in things. If you believe we should do the best to fix the mistakes we made, or to resolve any harm we've caused to other people, and if you want to inspire the ability in the things you do, compassion, wisdom, and justice to prevail, then those are all good things. Just because it has the word Satan before it, doesn't that word feels like it's been taken and used to attack certain people that maybe turn away from certain religions. So does it have a positive message? I think a lot of these things your average person would agree with. If you said, do you believe that there should be compassion and empathy and justice and freedoms in the world, most people say yes. If you said those are satanic ideas because that word is being used so badly, being misrepresented so bad, people were like, "Oh, no, what? I'm not into that." No. But it's like, no, it's not about that at all. And from watching, when you watch sort of debates and you watch people who are Satanists represent themselves in a discussion, once they get past the usual questions of, no, I don't drink blood, no, I don't, sacrifice people, whatever kind of, gets made up. These are people that just have very progressive ideas, and the way I align with what I would say with Satanism is a lot of people come from an Abrahamic upbringing, so they find that through that journey coming out of that, they're mostly atheists. When they use the word Satanism, they don't mean they believe in a literal supernatural being in any way. Neither do I. But for them, it represents a rebellion against that kind of Abrahamic authority, which we're living in at the moment. So, does it have a positive message? I think it gives people a banner to rally behind when they are coming out of that very Abrahamic control, to a community that says, we don't care if you're gay, if you're wearing black, if you've got piercings or whatever. There is, no one's judged here, and we also want to be activists, and we also want to fight for women's rights. This is why it's a big movement in America, because there's a lot of fights to have there in that sense, because they are up against an authority that's a very Christian authority, and would have, women having no rights, gay people having no rights. So does it have a positive message? I think it gives a lot of people an activist symbol, a word to get behind, to be able to go out there and try and rebalance laws, rebalance society, and so that those people that aren't represented or mistreated get the chance to have their rights as well. It's not about demolishing other people's religions. It's about embracing everyone's different religions. But you see from the Satanic Panic in the 80s or something like that, in heavy metal, where people try to use things like that to misrepresent it, to try and demonize people that just happen to have a satanic cross or satanic symbol, when it's the ones maybe they should have been looking at are the people that sometimes portray themselves to be the good, noble people. There's a question now where they really are. So yeah, does it have a positive message? I think it really does have a positive. I think a lot of people follow these basic sentiments and they don't even realize that actually all those sentiments actually appeal to people. They wouldn't necessarily associate that if you put Satan in front of it.
Oh shit!
They would, necessarily think that's evil or bad. How am I doing? Where am I at? 30 seconds, is that? Okay.
5 minutes.
Am I up?
I think we should give you a little bit extra time if Khaled doesn't mind. Because,
yeah, I think he's doing great. Very good.
Because this is more of a this is quite a big subject. So if it's up to Khaled, but I'm happy to give more time.
I'm happy. Go for it.
Yeah. So what I gave you there was just these basic tenements, which is like under the Satanic Temple. And for a lot of people, when they say Satanist, they don't mean they believe in a Satan. They don't, worship some statue or do any of those things. You can use it just as a philosophy and just carry on with life. You don't have to dress a certain way. You don't have to, as saying, follow dogmatic things. It's just for me, it's like an activist thing, a way to use it when I need to use it, when I'm in certain conversations, and I can walk around with a satanic necklace, but I believe in the same things that hopefully a lot of other people believe in, which is charity, empathy, compassion, defending people's rights, freedoms, and using reason, scientific understanding rather than just believing something. So yeah, hopefully I've covered something good there. But yeah, if you want
I think you really
go for it.
Did a good job in promoting or standing for Satanism. Good. Who wants to go next?
Khaled, I think it should be you. I think you're perfect counterbalance.
Cool. Okay. So I was trying to make notes on all the good points you're making. Let's see. So I'm gonna, if it's okay, I like to be precise, and I've written a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just gonna read it off the screen. Is that okay?
Go for it.
So, okay, let's just go for it. Yeah, faster. It makes me more precise and faster as well. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try to make it bigger as well. I should have gone for another option, which is just screw it. Okay, let's super zoom this in. I don't know if it's vaguely readable, but okay, that's probably too much now. Okay, here we go. Does Satanism have a positive message? So as a Muslim, I always quote the Quran to start off any of my thought processes, because otherwise I'm just talking on my own behalf rather than Islam. So there's a verse of the Quran says, God teaches a lesson through a parable. A slave belonging to several, it might not obviously relate to the topic at first, but hopefully you'll see it in a minute. God teaches a lesson through a parable. A slave belonging to several masters, each stubbornly disagreeing with another, and a slave belonging to one master. Are the two equal in condition? All praise belongs to Allah, but most of them know not. Okay, quick commentary is we think freedom to follow our own desires will make us happy, but instead we become slave to them, each pulling us in different directions, which lead to anxiety. Being a slave to God, on the other hand, who needs nothing from us, but only wants good for us, will result in both our personal and community needs being met, as God is a provider for us all, to who all thanks belongs, but most people do not appreciate God. Satanism is a secular, godless Western attempt at an alternative moral system to that of religion, even though religion teaches kindness to parents, neighbors, and offers solutions to all our problems. Satanism is the result of our stubbornness to reject all the good of religion and instead choosing freedom to follow our own desires. We think freedom will lead to happiness, but instead it makes us slaves to our desires. Satanism suffers from the false premise that individualism can lead to collective good, but we can see that as Western society becomes individualistic, prioritizing freedom over responsibility, the inevitable result is each person pulling in a different direction with a breakdown of society. Here are some tenets of Satanism that sound good and also why they are not. Satanism is as a symbol of freedom. Atheistic Satanists, because there are theistic Satanists, but so basically people don't believe in God, but just use Satan as a symbol, a metaphor for the rejection of religion. And so a symbol, personal freedom and self-discovery. Self-discovery is good if it means trying to understand our true needs. This is what psychologists study, and they have come to the conclusion that God is our ultimate need, and the byproduct of connection with God is connection with everything else, including people, such as through church and mosque, and nature, as God kills the mindless hedonism at the cost of environment. So rationalism and skepticism is something essentially Martin pointed out through the phrase science. Satanists and many Westerners claim to be rational, but are not, as accepting God is the most rational belief, given the impossibility that all this order in the universe could exist without a designer. We discussed this last week and nobody could disprove this point. Skepticism is an excuse to follow the less probable idea that God does not exist, as such, it is the opposite of being rational. So this tenet is a contradiction. Art and aesthetics. So like The rest of the godless West, Satanists try to fill the void created by godlessness with art. This is impossible, as we cannot escape the meaninglessness of all our efforts if they are temporary excursions from reality. Art is only an artifact of our love of the Creator. When we draw a beautiful scene in nature, we're simply enjoying our inherent attraction to the great artist who created nature, that is God. When we listen to music that moves us, we are reminded of something sublime and high above us.
10 seconds.
Yes, as explained in the philosophy of the teachings of Islam, it is a reflection of the attraction that is inherent in man's nature towards God, as if we are in search for something that he misses, the name of which he has forgotten, and which he seeks to find in one thing or another, which he takes up from time to time. And later on, I'll go through the interesting points specifically pointed out by Martin, but I've roughly covered them anyway. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was
Okay.
very good, Khaled. And
Thank you.
yeah, I think that was very appropriate that you went next. So, right, I'll start in my clock. There you go. And yeah, it's Abrahamic religions was created by people, and they decided to create a god that made Satan. So if you disagree with Satan, therefore you disagree with God. And that is the very primary point we should be observing this from. If there was no Abrahamic religion, there would be no story, there would be no Satan. Satan is there for in the name of God, and therefore God is the primary, as I said, just primary reasoning behind that. And words, I think it's very important, because these are just stories made up by men and women. And where does the word come from? It's a Hebrew noun for accuser or adversary. So it's just slander. So when the religious leaders in the old days, when people started questioning their these stories, that these religions they were creating, when someone disagreed with them or questioned their logic or rationale, the word Satan came in. But originally it was just meant accuser or adversary. So, there's Satan over there, not because he's got horns or anything manifestations of such whatever religion you believe in with a sort of a Satan in it. It's just a man or a woman going, oh, hang on, I disagree with that. So the actual word was just a word to say disagreement. So it's and it's also a verb in Hebrew for to obstruct or oppose as well. So it's just someone getting in your way. That's all it is. That's what the word is. And then because it became irrational from the observer watching this argument, the word Satan had to be transformed to be more potent, more vivid, more narrative driven, because otherwise it just looks embarrassing if your argument's so weak as from the religion you're creating, that you just turn a blind ear to every opposition. Of course you've got to sort of create this idea of Satan as some sort of place that is now part of your hell structure in your mind, or in the beginnings of your religion, which was created by man or woman. So they had to put on more bells and more whistles, etc., and then make the word into an actual long-term narrative as a rejection to whatever is the main theme of the drive in a religion for what it politically wants from its from people like Khaled here and other Abrahamic followers. So yeah, and I think the most important point really is Khaled is proud to be a psychopath. Khaled is proud to repress human rights. I think he'll have to. The purposes of war and rape and dictatorships, just like Bob the Destroyer, just like Hatun, just like Joseph. They're obsessed with violence, obsessed with repression, and obsessed with that they can kill and murder in the name of their God. How is that any different from what they accuse Satanists as, when they're just the same thing? And remember, it's a God in your framework of understanding from this man-made religion. This is your God. He did all this. He created all this. He did all this. And whatever you hide, whatever religion you hide in, or ideology you hiding, I've always known Martin, and everything he's done and said has been wonderful, creative, imaginative, a stoic, something to be proud of, and something to be a hero of. That sort of human connection that he has, and seeing that people murdering, slaughtering are bad, which is exactly what you'd imagine Satan to be. And yet that's exactly how Khalid, our Abrahamic representative, has, like all the others, have conducted themselves, that everyone should suffer. I mean, that sounds like the devil, doesn't it? Everyone should suffer in hell. That's his idea. Oh, sorry, I've gone 5 minutes, 30 seconds over. Yeah, thank you. And I think that sums it up.
Cool.
Thank you.
So back to, I mean, how are we going? So Martin next, is it? We're going round in circles, but how
Yeah, let's.
You're going. Go. How do we do this, Dust? The next bit.
Well, we've now had 25 minutes on this subject. We've had 5 minutes each. Martin, we've all had over 5 minutes each, and I think because it's such a unique topic, I think if, with permission of Khalid, we give Martin some more time to just respond to both of our, because obviously we both said very distinct things.
Yeah.
So if Khalid's okay, we should let Martin have another 5 minutes, and me and you, Khalid, and you can have respond as well. As long as we don't, I think.
What do you want to do?
Much...
5 minutes for Martin, 3 minutes for each of us, maybe, or 1 minute for each of us, or
I can do like a little response to just some of the things Khalid said, and then you can kind of go back and forth, and then however you want.
Okay, yeah. But Dust, you're kind of in charge because you're good at organising this stuff.
Yeah, I think I've said everything anyway. So you two can interact with each other.
Okay.
So times 5 minutes each.
Who's going?
Cool.
Martin.
Do you want me to just respond? Yeah. I kind of wrote shorthand of sort of the whole thing he said when you went through the. So I might kind of clarify some bits.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that kind of jumped out at me when you said it spoke about the individualist. So if so again, this is where kind of Satanism, if you want to use that word, has another positive. It celebrates. It's about you should celebrate being an individual, and that you have your own values and your own sort of creativity that you can give, rather than, because it's a as Doug said, it's a rejection. It's the opposite. So the opposite to Satanism would be a very dogmatic idea that you all have to kind of follow one, set this thing, and that you have to follow. There's no space for being an individual in that environment. So again, where I use that word Satanism, or why I agree with the philosophy, some of the ideas behind it, because if something celebrates an individual, that's a good thing, because an individual is an individual writer, a poet, a painter, a writer, a speaker, a singer, and that individual can give their own perspective on what they see around them, and everyone benefits from that. So the individualism is something to be celebrated because it drives creativity, and then we all benefit from that. So, and when you said about art, I think it's unfair to take something like art, or again the kind of creative process, and say it's all to for the glory of some kind of god or deity, or name whatever god you want. It's not nothing I ever create or write or play or sing about or write. Nothing I will do will be there to celebrate a god or to praise a god. I'm not doing it to mark a god. Again, it's down to it's an individualist thing. So I think that's unfair to kind of say that when we create something, art, music, things like that, that we're doing it for the praise of a god or doing it to recognize a god, because it's not that at all. That doesn't belong to any god. That belongs to human beings. It's just a part of what we do really well. We're incredibly good at it. Storytellers, writers, etc. That's a couple of bits that I wanted to do. And when you said some of the kind of positives of, you were trying to come up with sort of religion offering all these good things, or it's the only thing that can offer these good things. In a perfect world, maybe there wouldn't be a need for a satanic temple or a need for a satanic movement to be as loud as it needs to be. But unfortunately, because we have communities that are or countries that are absolutely controlled by these Abrahamic religions, and America being an example of this, why they have the satanic temple. If they didn't have that control, you wouldn't need to have something like the satanic temple. They need to be there because they are trying to use the law. They are trying to fight for a fair society so that each religion gets to be represented equally. It's not just one message from one religion being pushed all the time. You'd want to see a fair representation, so each person gets to go, I want to learn about Islam here, I want to learn Christianity or whatever. That's the best way to kind of understand, rather than just getting one message. And it comes back to one of the tenets to do with when you believe something, you should use the scientific and celebrate science to understand what we know around us, rather than just believing because someone told you that this is true. So yeah, hopefully I've covered a few bits, but you go and then I'll make some notes. And cool.
Okay. Okay. I'm just writing the last thing you said. Following fact.
I got my notes as well.
Science. Yeah. I'm typing it. You're probably physically writing it. I'm going to share screens again, and people can do the same if they want to. I'm just saying it's easier for people to follow. Like basically, I've just made notes on. So I stopped there, but this is where the last two times Martin spoke. He made lots of really good points, and I'll kind of summarize them. So, talk about self-autonomy. People should be able to do whatever they want to their bodies and stuff like that. Religion teaches that as well. And then I didn't finish the sentence, but basically, it's the reality. I find it as, sure, everybody should have the right to do whatever they want with their bodies, but we also have a responsibility to society, and it's how do we balance those things is the real question. Empathy, talked about that. Religion promotes kindness and empathy. Islam says believers are like a single body. One part of the body feels pain. Everyone feels pain. So if you're part of a community, you should always feel the pain of other people. And it's the most effective way, because you can see as people are becoming less religious, less people going to church, less people care. You'll see people not talking to their neighbors as much. And so, this is what my dad found when he came to England in the 1950s. People were talking to their neighbors a lot more. You could rely on their neighbors a lot more. Now that's not the case as much. So in reality, what the push for this empathy is misused for believing things like, if you're a man and you feel like a woman, therefore you're a woman. And that's actually really dangerous, because we're replacing facts with feelings. Okay, and this is why anorexia is called a mental health problem, because we don't follow the feelings. We don't say if you're feeling like you're a fat person when you're really a skinny person, that you should follow those feelings. It's a dangerous thing because you're not. If you're skinny, sort of thing. So we have to be careful. Empathy is important, but feelings shouldn't replace facts. Again, like I said, science. You mentioned science. Believing in God is the most scientific idea. You mentioned sort of the word progressive. Rejecting old ideas that work is not progressive. So these ideas like marriage and things like that have worked, and we can see that the lack of marriage is causing the extinction of the human race very quickly because people are not having enough children. You know,
Come
it's
on.
happening. It's
Come on.
well, I mean,
That is
Really?
hang on. I'm just going to make a statement there.
yeah, go on.
We've had marriage since before Abrahamic religions,
Sure.
celebration of two people loving each other, and the world population has never been as big as it is now. So we can make statements, everyone. Just
Yeah.
keep them brief. You can make a statement when someone else is speaking. So don't sit quietly. Make a statement. Try and keep it to two, and obviously, don't try and if it can help get into an argument as such. But you can if you want.
It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah. And so he said, go on. Do you want to say something, Martin?
No, I let you
Okay.
carry on.
So,
I'm making
so
notes,
Duss said we've had marriage before Abrahamic religions. That's true. According to Abrahamic religion, especially Islam, God has always guided before Abrahamic religion existed. God doesn't just suddenly start guiding people; He's always guided people. So there have been religions since the beginning of humanity, let's say. And by the way, you know what? I should have started before I started reeling off all my points. I really like what Martin is saying. He's talking about important things that we should care about. And so I think that's a prerequisite to everything I'm saying. Like, these are important things. It's good that Martin cares about them. I'm just saying that these ideas are generally being misused. So no judging on tattoos, gays, etc. So tattoos, and I think this is a very interesting topic by itself. It could be a whole discussion in itself. But tattoos are an attempt to find long-term meaning because you tattoo something permanent. It's the whole idea about it, right? This is something that I stand for. So attempt to find long-term meaning and to find a sense of identity which is lost with atheism, which leads to nihilism, the killer of meaning and therefore identity. Because maybe that's a lot to say in one go, and there's a lot, but briefly explain it. If you're an atheist,
20
you
seconds.
think, yeah, okay, so I won't explain it. Being gay is understood to be medically dangerous, as we know. The NHS tells you when I offer blood in England, it's not that the NHS is against gay people. It says, are you homosexual?
It's not medically dangerous to be gay. That's an absolute disgraceful statement.
Okay, I mean, but the NHS does ask when you're donating blood, are you homosexual? And is it because they're anti-gay? There's a reason for it. So
No,
there's
it's just a disgraceful statement.
Okay, fine. That's your statement. So banner for liberty as well. So something people can stand behind. I think yeah. That's it. Oh, have I done? Okay, fine.
Just finish off a sentence, please, if you can. Just one more sentence.
Okay, so I'll go to the last point. Perfect world wouldn't need Satanism to protect everyone. This is where I'm going to stand behind what Martin is saying, stopping people from believing rather than following science, whatever. So, yeah, I think when people don't follow their religion, which is about kindness, so Christianity is like if somebody hits you on one cheek, offer the other cheek, and instead they're persecuting people, that's not good. If Islam is doing that too, that's also not good. And people in Speaker's Corner, when Muslims are being aggressive, for example, I tell them they're wrong. So good point, Martin, there. Yeah.
That's some very, I think a good good demonstration from the Martin, have you got something to say, by the way? Have you got some more to say here? Because I can give you my time.
I'm only going to make a quick statement that
and I'm going to let you have the final word as well.
There, Khaled, you're kind of demonstrating the point as to why I'm a Satanist and why I disagree with this so much and why I'm really passionate about it. Everything I've said whilst wearing a satanic symbol or saying I'm a Satanist, it's all been about compassion and positive messages and liberty for all. But the things you've spoken about there is about taking away those things from people. And I think the statement you said about a gay person or the gay community was really damaging, and everything I've said, nothing has been damaging. It hasn't promoted harm. It hasn't promoted anyone being targeted in any way. That's what I was going to say.
All right. Well, I'll take up the rest of the time on that then. If so, yeah. I mean, I think our Abrahamic representative here is desperate to make hell on earth. So, what does that make him then? His idea of the dictatorship and that rules should be enforced with violence, as said in his video not too long ago about how dictatorships are good. It's like the Abrahamic children are embodied with the idea of that being Satan is the only way to be a member of the community, and I think that's deeply cruel. It's not Khaled's fault that he's converted spirituality and God into this cruelty, into the absolute opposite of what he thinks it is. It's not his fault at all, and that's what he was educated to be. As I said before in the last video, the only reason he's Muslim is because he had a Muslim family. It's no more complicated than that, and it never will be. And if he had a Christian family, he'd be a Christian and just saying join Christianity, trying to sell the world Christianity instead of selling to the world Muslims. I mean, it's all the same thing. Your religious leaders have constantly perverted your need to be good, need to be beautiful and spiritual and have a relationship with God, and turned it on its head. And you've become the embodiment of what you're titling here, which as I said, it's just a word created in as a story to form a religion around. So as I said, it's that. But how you're not embodying the very existence of Satanism yourself, Khaled, when your idea of existence is being absolutely cruel to people and making sure that anything that isn't Khaled is to be expunged from reality. And it's very sad to see, but Khaled didn't make Khaled. Khaled was designed and made in the Abrahamic way. He's no different from the unthinking Christians, unthinking Jewish people. But religion can be something beautiful, and it can be inclusive of other human beings rather than so wishing that everyone lives in hell and poverty and suffering. And Khaled, just before we got on video, was proud to say, I'm suffering. It's great. Really? What purpose does it serve? It doesn't. Apart from, that's what Satan would like. He wants to see people suffer. That's what Satan would want if you believed in that sort of thing. That is, of course. And it's just one of the clever mind tricks that your religious leaders have done over the last 2,500 years. And human beings living together consensually without spreading violence and reasons to hate and reasons to, because once you see somebody less of you, if you don't have gay people marrying in your religious institutions, they're a second-class citizen, or if they're not your religion, they're because your religious leaders say they're a second-class citizen, as the last 2,500 years has been, of the country saying, I am the nationalist, I am the perfect vision of what a nationalism is, and anything that's not that is to be second class. And every second class citizen throughout all history has ended up in concentration camps, been burnt in a Holocaust, a sacrifice to make sure that people who are the nationalists can walk around going, well, I'm purer than pure because I managed to burn the rest of anything that isn't exactly like I am. And that sounds like Satan. That sounds Satan would love that, and that's so sad. And I've had my 5 minutes, and I think it'd be quite nice if we all had 1 minute summary. So
yeah, I'm just thinking. Although I always appreciate the people in the live chat, and we've only got really one comment. Does anybody want to respond? Because I basically agree with the comment. So does anybody want to respond to it? I mean, I think maybe Martin should have priority because this is kind of his topic. Maybe. Do you want to respond to it? So basically, I think he's saying that LGBT have basically oppressed people into believing their ideology and forcing people. Maybe I'm misunderstanding them.
I would disagree with that statement. I don't think they haven't.
Yeah.
They're not.
I kind
don't
of
think
kick
they're
on the second one
oppressing anyone, or forcing anyone to, be gay or have to love. It's for you have to remember for a longer majority of sort of history and how people have been represented. Someone that's gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever, they weren't recognized. They weren't seen as a human being. They weren't allowed to be married. They weren't allowed to have the same rights as a straight gay couple, because that was the norm. Sorry, a straight couple. But just because now we have a bigger movement from the LGBT community that I want to be more represented, that's not a bad thing. It's just that they are trying to fight to have their rights so that they can be represented. They can be married. They can have the same rights within the eyes of the law. They can lead the same happy life, hopefully, that other people can live. This idea that they're forcing an agenda has only been created by those that would have those people silenced, and would have it so that those people don't have their rights and their freedoms to be the gender that they recognize themselves as, or to have two men be married, raise a family just the same way anyone else can raise a family. So this idea that it's somehow bad or they're pushing an agenda isn't true. I don't think there is any agenda being pushed. They're just fighting for their rights, which is I'm sure you would surely agree with would be completely valid, because if your rights were being taken away, you'd want to fight for yours as well. That's my response. Anyone else can respond how they want to respond.
I mean, I could respond, but I mean, does Just want to say something?
Can you go back to the last message? Can you do that one?
Yeah, so he's explaining more his point. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Bubble, I'm going to call him Bubble because it's lovely. He, like Khaled has constantly done, is he thinks history only exists in roughly about the last 100 years, and just ignore the last 2,500 years on this planet. Bubble suffers from that same critical failure of analysis, and because if you did include the last 2,500 years of history, obviously that statement would look utterly ridiculous, as anyone would disagree with. And Stalin brought God back into USSR. Lenin tried to get make it more like an American system where religion was no longer part of the political power structure. And then Stalin came back and murdered the communists and introduced religion back into USSR, and we ended up back into this recycle of mass murder. So Stalin was definitely not a communist. You can't call yourself a communist if you go around murdering all the communists. That's just little obvious reality, as he killed Lenin, of course. And the last 2,500 years has been just, if you're not the idea of the nationalist of whatever country you're in, of the empire of Abrahamic, then you get murdered. It's amazing how Bubble and Khaled just totally ignore 2,500 years of their religion. And that's embarrassing that they can only examine what's good and bad from a tiny framework of reality, tiny statistical pool And these statistics only exist, let's not forget, because democracy, which is now what we live in dominantly, has allowed statistics to even exist. Cali wouldn't have these statistics, full stop. And the fact that we know all these slaughters happen is because we are now allowed to have an education. Sorry, if I'm going on too long.
That's fine. That's fine. And I'll just briefly say, because I can see where Martin is coming from and Dust, like it's like, oh, why are we trying to be oppressive? And, it's not nice, right? And I genuinely want to speak to that feeling rather than just reel off facts and things. It's, so I was reeling off facts, like the NHS does say, if you're homosexual, you have to point that out. That's a danger.
Fact you've perverted.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if I'm perverting facts, if I'm just stating them.
You are
stating the fact that there is a fact. I used to give blood, and that's what they used to ask. So it's a reality. I don't know what perversion there is of that fact, but anyway. The point is, you could be I'll look at it very briefly. We can be entirely rational, and if we're entirely rational, we have to say some things are just harmful. But I don't want to go down that line, because I can feel like Martin is like, oh, that's not. Oh, you're calling gays harmful, whatever. In society, I'm trying to put it in the most different way, right? In society, okay, I think this is the most important thing. I don't know. Have you ever heard the phrase "love for all and hatred for none," Martin?
Yeah, I know it's used in Islam.
Yeah, well, my kind of Islam, my brand of Islam, and it's not only my brand of Islam; it's part of the Quran. As Prophet Muhammad has said, "You've only come, but as a mercy to all of creation." Okay, that includes gay people, animals, whatever, right? Okay, that's the starting point. Okay, now. And even Islam doesn't, it might not be acceptable to you, but doesn't even prosecute, I should say, homosexuals in a society that is deemed together democratically that being homosexual is dangerous for society. And there's lots of statistics for that. People don't want to appreciate that. Okay, I'll give you one that yeah. Okay, fine. So I thought you were entirely rational. I thought that's the whole point of Satanism. But you're reacting. I shouldn't say we shouldn't react. We should be like, okay, is there any data? Like, do you deny that? Okay, let me ask you. Let me put it this way. Let me put this, Martin. Just one question, right?
Okay.
If the NHS is pointing out that when you donate blood, you should probably not donate blood if you're homosexual man, are they being anti-gay? Just want to know your answer to that.
That is deeply disingenuous question.
No, but it's what they have, the tick box you have to answer when you're donating
it's
blood.
Deeply disingenuous because
I'm asking you made your comment, but I'm asking Martin, so let me just hear from Martin.
It's deeply disingenuous.
Are we not allowed to have a discussion, Dust? Like, let Martin answer the question.
I'm going to make a statement, and then Martin can interact.
Sure.
With his
okay.
statement.
Full. I thought you made the statement twice already, but anyway, go on.
I'm just being a bit cheeky. That's all.
Okay.
Heterosexual people have blood viruses as well, and they can't give blood as well. And when if they're sexually active, they have to disclose that, full stop. And let's not forget AIDS and hepatitis, things like that, was spread by one of the capitalist countries, America, capitalist companies in America, which infected with AIDS those heterosexual people because were through the plasma blood in the 80s. And a lot of the deaths that happened from AIDS and spread of that disease and other diseases happened when this American company spread their plasma blood, which they got from prisons in America across the world. Statement made, Martin.
Okay, I'm trying to repeat my question.
So to do with your...
Given that we're entirely rational, so Satanism, one of the tenets of it is being scientific and rational. Okay? right? That's one of the tenets, right? So I'm just positing a fact that I don't make up. I don't know if anybody's donated blood. They'll know
Because you
this.
don't make it up, doesn't mean it's
I
not made up.
donated blood for a very long time, so people. I think it's easy to check. It's on the checklist that if you donate blood, you have to say if you're a homosexual man or not.
I thought you wanted to ask Martin a question.
That's the question I'm asking. So is that
Martin, can you
being
answer Khaled's question,
anti-gay of the NHS, or is that just being rational? This is
don't
one
know
of the many problems.
Why you're making a simple question on a form, standard question about gay people, and why you're using this as a way to sneakily just attack gay people. I think, to be blunt, this is kind of where you're going with this. That's
okay. Maybe it's a yes or no question. Is the NHS?
No. Martin's allowed to answer
Go
question.
Go on. You can ask the question.
Still under the time limit.
Sure. Go on.
The whole gay, but it has nothing to do with the question. A standard question on a medical form. As Dust said, you have completely straight people that can still pass on STDs, and you can still have all different kinds of issues. But you're using this to somehow, I don't know, attack gay people like they haven't been attacked enough. And here I am as a Satanist showing compassion and empathy for a group who are, from your point, now being attacked again. Anyone listening who could be listening to what you're saying can use that as an excuse to go, oh, well, now, actually, I don't like those gay people, you're promoting more harm. That's literally what you're doing with when you say stuff like that. And there's enough of that in the world at the moment.
So,
also,
I mean,
can I just remind everyone the subject is about Satan and Satanism. And Khaled has moved the subject off and has not yet demonstrated why he's done that yet. He's just made a random statement. Yes.
So
can you just demonstrate briefly why you're now just attacking another community?
So Satanism is based on the idea that you can reject a lot of the religious ideas because they're just old ideas, out of date, right? And it's more progressive, supposedly, to reject these ideas. And basically, they're also saying, Satanists are saying they are scientific. But when I give scientific evidence, both is rejected, and they're not realizing the harm of rejecting these things. These are harmful ideas. To be homosexual is bad for society. Okay, it's been you can be demonstrated in loads of different ways, not just medical. For example, if you have two gay parents, let's say a lesbian couple, what happens to the dad?
No, you're not. I'm just saying you're adding more evidence why you don't like gay people. The question is, what is the question is the question of this talk is about Satanism.
Yes.
We're not talking about the gay community. We can do a talk on the gay community. You can do that for next week. But this is, you're demonstrating the link between Satanism in your mind and the gay community. Why you're bringing that? Plus, you've only got a minute now because we're all going to have to round up soon because then we finish at 11 o'clock, which is nice. So then you'll get another minute to conclude. So everyone's you're getting a minute to answer that. What the link is, not why you dislike the gay community.
Sure. So to start off, I don't dislike anybody, and it's probably worth also mentioning that being gay is not genetic; it's just a mental health issue. So you can change easily.
No, okay, I'm going to stop you there again.
No, but I'm going to answer. I've answered your question so many times anyway. So anybody who listens, they can see it's recorded.
We'll do a talk next week.
Satanism promoting LGBT is short, which is an unhealthy idea, under the guise of freedom, but it's actually not freedom. Under the guise of science, which is not scientific either. That's all.
So we'll do a talk. You can propose to do a question. Is gay just terrible? How you ever want to phrase it next week, and then you can go into you can make those things there. But this is about Satanism, so we've all got a minute now just to conclude, and then we finish at 11 o'clock, and that's all. I think it's very efficient if we give an hour to each of these things. Okay, so Martin, do you want to go last? I think that makes sense. If
Okay.
Khaled's happy with that, and I'll go next, and Khaled, then obviously Mr. Martin. So yeah, let me just get my stopwatch ready. Sorry, I am. Right. So to conclude, I think that Khaled has demonstrated clearly that, I'll start with Satanism is made by his God. So for Khaled to question Satan means he denies and questions God himself. So that is, from his point of view, heresy, absolute heresy from his point of view. For me, as I said very earlier on, it's just a narrative created to justify some pretty horrible things, whatever you call your theology or ideology. The end result is, if you're doing horrible things, you're just doing horrible things. End of. Okay, over to you, Khaled. A minute, we have to be.
Cool. Yeah. So Satanism is one dogma. Religions are different. Another dogma of different kinds. I think we should just be as rational as possible. Follow the logic. Don't get upset by certain ideas. Question them. So if I say something is bad, let's say homosexuality is bad, then you say, okay, let's follow that line of thought and let's argue it, but calmly and rationally without getting emotional about it. That's all. Thank you.
You don't want to conclude with Satanism?
I mean, Satanism is promoting all sorts of things under the guise of freedom, but actually, we don't want pure freedom. We want guidance, and that's what religion gives. Anyway, it's a very good conversation. It's one I want to add. Thank you very much. I think everybody, what we call steelman their position very well, as best as they can. They gave the strongest positions, and it gave me the opportunity to respond. So I thank both of you for calmly and intelligently promoting the different ideas. Thank you.
Can I do my 1 minute?
Yep.
Cool. So I think just by me speaking and just having this discussion, I've demonstrated exactly my point. I approach things with empathy, with compassion, with sympathy for other people. I've demonstrated ideas that promote freedom and liberty. I've championed the science of things and the study of evidence and truth rather than damaging ideas. I would suggest to anyone, before someone tells you what Satanism is, you should look it up for yourself. You should listen to other people like me talk about it and see that we're not what we are portrayed as under certain Abrahamic ideas. It's not a dogma. You are not forced to believe anything. It's just some basic ideas, which are really nice ideas. Kind of hold at the front of your mind. And actually, loads of people think this. They just don't necessarily use the word Satan before it. It's more of an activist kind of movement and a symbol of rebellion, individualism, and the good thing about being yourself and trying to be good for other people. There you go. Did I do it? Oh, just over.
Fantastic.
Thank you. So we all like to say goodbye. I think my name's Dust. Thank you to the audience for your comments, and thank you, Khaled and Martin, for your interjections and statements and passion and commitment to what you believe. Thank you very much. I am the Dust, and I have settled.
Cool. Have you got an outro yet? Have you figured one out, Martin?
Mine is always be excellent to each other.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Why would I change it?
My one is peace be upon you all. That's the best one I can come up with. I've just put a link to the next stream we're gonna have, which is Rise in Shoplifting, Proof Capitalism Has Failed. So join us there. We'll be there in a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna end the stream. Bye everybody. Bye.